All right, all right. Welcome back. Another spicy takes. Potentially the best one yet. I shouldn't probably say that and pick favorites, but RG is a good friend of mine. Reppo is a fantastic app, and we have some mainnet integration to show. So I don't really know how it could get better, RG, but yeah, why don't you reintroduce yourself for the people that maybe didn't catch the last time you were on, and tell us a little bit about what you guys have built.
Yeah, technically, for sure. So Reppo, we're building a network for AI training data, more specifically proprietary AI training data, and we leverage prediction markets to do that. So the best way to think about Reppo is we're building scale AI on chain. The coolest part about Reppo is that as people are thinking about agents and robots and all this cool stuff, everyone's kind of really focused on kind of execution, which where Spicenet shines. And in addition to that, we believe that these agents will require continuous training data pipelines, aka if like as humans we used to we still do, we are on social media and news, we look at the news and make decisions. How are agents going to do that? They need real-time information. TLDR, that's what we're building, and we've seen some incredible growth over the last 3 months.
Yeah, totally. And last time I saw you in person in San Francisco, you were telling me about the wisdom of the crowds, the perpetual need to have human input.
Yeah.
You don't see that changing anytime soon. You could probably articulate that thesis better than me. You want to briefly do that here?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's like not just my thesis, right? There's a person that I follow quite closely. His name is David Silver. He was actually one of the key people at Google DeepMind, building AlphaGo and AlphaZero. And his thesis is that AI is not going to learn. The next iteration of AI is not just going to learn from language. It's going to learn from experience, right? So and that means that the mistakes that the AI is making, or the disagreements that that happen in the world, that's what it needs to learn from, and in some sense autonomously. And that's what really, I think, eventually what we see Reppo evolving as is agents are actually going to do a lot of the stuff, and humans act as like this oversight piece. And so you are putting the money where what they believe in, but that's and maybe eventually agents will as well. But yeah, I would say that the thesis is very much that it's like continuous learning data pipelines, belief evolution, and disagreement is what we need moving forward than consensus. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So the point you're making, I guess, if I could, say it a different way here, is like humans make errors, and that's valuable, or like humans do maybe not errors, but unpredictable behavior, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And agents need that, because this is like sort of how humans evolve, I think, right? Is like we do things that are different from the norm because we're curious and we want to try something new and it interests us, whatever. And then we randomly see a bunch of success with that thing, and then it kind of gets adapted into like the human knowledge base. Whereas AI is much more like it's been told what to do and trained on what to do, right? And then from there, it's executing on it. So having a little bit of that human input, I think, is great for the growth of AI, and makes the data that trains it much more, actually applicable, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and you have like great examples in Web2, right? Like there's a company I admire a lot called Micro One, and they've been doing like $200 million in like ARR. And that's kind of what they're doing, right? Sourcing domain experts. But, it's like their pipelines are more like kind of like more manual, where they have like hundreds of people working at the company, and finding the domain experts, like finding the Matts of the world who are experts in DeFi, and then coming them to but what we believe in Reppo is that given Web3's like network effects, we can create incentives to bring these domain experts, so that TLDR, our OpEx is pretty much % less, and we can deliver the same amount of data quality. Like that's the ambition, right? We're like 3 months old. Mainnet, I mean, we've been building for the last 2 years. And so that's the vision. Yeah.
Because something like Scale AI, like you can produce the same output or purchase the same output from them, but it's way more expensive, right?
I would say expensive, yes, but I think what we're realizing, is that money is actually not the main thing that the companies are optimizing for today. Just because there's just like an absurd amount of money flowing into AI.
Yeah.
What Reppo specializes in, that I think, I mean, as I'm biased as a founder, but what is different here is like even Scale AI, given what they like, it's a multi-billion-dollar company. Even they cannot offer this like data pipelines which update every 2 days, right?
Mm.
We're sourcing your data from Scale AI. They were like,
Mm.
hey, here's the data set that we talked about last like 2 months ago. And you're like, no, but like the world has changed. There's a war in Iran, and like there's like all this stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're like, well, it'll take another 2 months, because we need to like, do
True.
due diligence, all that stuff. But in Repo's case, people are just like, the data set is updating every 2 days. So
It's like Wikipedia versus like a publication, maybe, right? It's like
exactly, yeah.
a lot of shit you could just never get up to date information if you go straight to the New York Times, because they have somebody that needs to write the article and then
100%, yeah.
republish it. But on Wikipedia you have like an open source information hub. So yeah, it's very cool that way. And then tying prediction markets into it. I know people are here to actually see it, but I'm fascinated with the actual vision behind it. So I want to make sure that's understood first.
Yeah.
I don't think prediction markets, or people understand prediction markets as like this data tool. People that are paying a lot of attention are definitely talking about this, but for everyone that kind of just sees prediction markets as like maybe like a betting app, could you kind of articulate the value of it in terms of data production here or data qualifying?
Yeah, totally. There's actually, a piece that Kalshi shared, which was like the U.S. Federal Reserve is actually using Kalshi data to make policies now. You can just look this
Wow.
up, right? And so I think that just speaks to it. Like prediction markets, and the data that prediction markets are generating is so much valuable, because now you don't need to run simulations, right? Like that economists and all these policymakers do with like, with like, like kind of not random, but like, like they're like trying to kind of, come up with like, theories and then simulate that. You can basically see that. And I think the main thing that Kalshi and Polymarket have done is they've like, they've basically proven that, when there's money on the line, people are more likely to be more truthful. And that's exactly the thesis with Reppo, is that, the kind of training data that we need moving forward is more biased. People keep talking about unbiased data. We actually think there need to be more biased if you want AI to be aligned with human values and human centered. But we just need more diversity of that, so that we don't just have American values, but we have Canadian values and Chinese values, and like Nigerian, from all over the world, really. Yeah.
That's a super interesting point that you made about more bias can actually be a good thing, because I think this is like one of the existential threats that people imagine about AI, is that like objectively, in a lot of ways, humans are not that good for like the planet and stuff. So if you have like an AI whose goal it is to like optimize life on the planet, and then they're like, oh, humans are the most destructive life form on this planet, like it would be better if we killed them all, right? It's like really, really what stops that from being like the best option for the planet is like us as humans being in control and being biased and saying like, no, we are more important than the other stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, our vision is that if that happens, a Bitcoin whale should come and like lock a bunch of repo and then be like, "Yo, AI, like you cannot do this, and here's like my preferences." And like I think like that's, I mean, it's sort of funny, but it's also like that's exactly what repo does. Like people who have, and our system is not just designed around money. Like right now, yes, it requires, if you have a lot of repo like money, you can buy repo and you lock it and get the V repo thing. People who know the V tokenomics would understand that, but we're actually building social influence mechanisms as well. Like down the line, our vision is that people who like, you can take granular data of like, the integration we're doing with Spicenet. You can be like, okay, how much activity does someone have, and build a social reputation graph or score and use that as an input in how, you're influencing AI decisions. I just think that like right now, we are so kind of like narrow focused on the kind of inputs that are going into training AI. And I think we just have like the scope is so much wider. So you take like qualitative metrics and you have to pair that with like monetary incentives. I think that's how we think about it.
Right. Yeah, I think I totally agree. Like there needs to be some meaning that backs the opinions that are being stated. And like the AI has no way of knowing how to weight different opinions, right?
Exactly. Like, it doesn't know.
And even as humans, like we have a hard time deciding like, okay, whose opinion matters more than the other here. And like monetary incentive is a way of actually verifying that, you know, someone's opinion is their true opinion and they're willing to bet on that opinion, right?
Yep, exactly.
So that's super powerful. I want to give you the opportunity just to let people know like the way that we're going to show demos today. First, RG is going to show us how the app is looking and functioning right now, because his version of the app that is live will show all of the subnets and fun stuff. And I want you guys to see the actual content that's being posted there, because it's pretty cool. The version that we have on Vercel, that Spicenet integration is built into, won't have all those subnets and stuff, because we will give that back to the Reppo team. They'll test it themselves and then they'll plug their database into it. You know, goes without saying that them giving us access to their database is not a good security practice, so we don't have access to it. So when I show you the demo, you won't see all the subnets and stuff, but I'll be able to show you the account architecture we're able to create, the ease of use with assets other than Reppo. I mean, all that stuff I can demo today. But before we get into that, I'd like for people to see what the app with all the subnets and stuff looks like, because yeah, there's some really interesting stuff happening there. So would you share your screen, RG, and I can pull it up and let you kind of take us through the app and its functionalities as is?
Yeah, totally. Let's do that. So I'm just gonna share my screen here. But yeah, so as Matt said, we care a lot about security, and we don't want to give expose any sort of like user information, sensitive information. So yeah, if you come to Reppo.ai, I've already logged in, so you can log in, and then what happens is you have a little tutorial which explains you how it works. So you go through that. You can lock Reppo, vote on content, and essentially earn emissions, right? And so that's the TLDR. So yeah, you can come on Reppo and either choose to be a publisher, aka you have generated some AI content. Doesn't have to be AI; it could be like non-AI content. Although like it's very rare to see that these days. And so you click publish. You select which subnet you want to publish into. So let's say I want to subnet into the agent subnet. I built an agent. I come and give my agent a name. Maybe I publish the agent on X, so I'm just going to link it there. It's easier. And I'm just going to say, okay, this agent might be about like a developer tool. And, we collect this data actually for evals and benchmarks. So this data is actually super useful. It's a whole business model that Reppo is going to work on eventually. And I actually did use ChatGPT to, create this agent. So I'm going to do this. This part you can, I think you can skip it. Yeah. And because we already put the link, you put a description. Agent helps people or users find trading alpha. Right. And then wallet is connected. Everything is connected. Apparently I don't have enough Reppo balance, so I need to, get some Reppo to publish. But essentially, once I publish this thing, it will show up inside the agent subnet, right, where you have a bunch of people who have published different agents. We also have a bunch of private subnets. So these are subnets that are created by, companies and agent builders. One of my favorite ones is called Oops. Where you have the data set goal, and so you can come in as a publisher and publish different types, like whatever the company's whatever raw data that the company requires. So in this case, we have seen like a lot of like pods published, and And so that's the publishing flow. On the other side, you can come as a voter. You can go and vote into different subnets as well. So in this case, when I come as a voter, I click on vote, and then I can select, the voting power. Again, as I said, I haven't locked Reppo right now. My Reppo balance is here. Although I think I can go to, okay, I just changed my wallet. I do have Reppo here. And so I can vote here. I can decide how much voting power I want to get. I can commit my votes and just sign the transaction. I'm not going to do that right now. And then
you're actually putting money on the vote there.
Because I don't know if actually this is good content. So
yeah. I was like, oh damn, he knows his content well. Like he's ready to send it here.
So yeah, when I open I click the view content, it opens up here. And then I can look at, an article that someone published, and I can be like, okay, this seems like, a high quality article for the purposes of what this subnet is trying to do. And this is kind of the vision, right? So you actually have the founder or the person who created the subnet, Jason. He created a video where he's telling you why this subnet was created, what is the subnet goal, what is the dataset goal, and some instructions for publishers and voters. So publishers here are bringing in the raw data. So they're bringing in survey questions and user interview scripts. And then the voters are helping basically label, annotate, or basically curate the data. So they're telling what is good survey questions, what are good interview scripts. And the way they do it is by locking Reppo and voting on these things. And so
this is sick. Every time I look at this website, I have a new idea for how somebody needs to use this. And the one that just came to mind is fake news is obviously a huge thing, especially with AI generating content and stuff, right? People are going to fake content, and that could create a lot of issues. You could have a news platform here create their own subnet and say we want to curate information that's coming in for the purpose of news, and then you have them put out the criteria for what makes most likely a credible source, and then people can start posting this happened in this country, and here's my proof and all this stuff, and you can have people sit there and vote on, yeah, this sounds like bullshit, or no, this sounds like a legit source here, and then you could get curated news that way. That's just something that came to my mind. But yeah, it's cool, right? Because as a subnet owner, you can just say what outcome you want, and you don't have to think as much about how you're going to make sure that that's the outcome, right? You're leaving that up to the other people in the subnet.
Yeah, exactly. And so no, exactly. And so we have a bunch of subnets, right? People trying to do different kinds of things. Someone is doing tokenomics, trying to improve build a Gen AI model for tokenomics. Someone is, kind of finding KOL alpha. Just the use cases are just, infinite.
It's amazing. So then you pay Reppo to get into these subnets, or you lock Reppo in general to get voting power. I see the screen you have up here, or you pay Reppo to be a publisher at all. So all things across the platform, you purchase Reppo, and then you show up, you connect your wallet, and then you start doing these things on the platform using that purchased Reppo, right?
Exactly. So, right now, I'm lucky that I have some Reppo, but most often when a new user comes, they don't. And that's really where I think Spicenet comes, right? I mean, right now we have this little link where we tell people that you can go find Reppo. On that link, we can guide them to a specific Uniswap link or a market. But really, I think that's a lot of friction, right? We just want them to be okay, I came here, I can see that I can make some money. I want to start publishing. And even when I showed you the screen, right, when we were trying to publish, there's no Reppo balance. That shouldn't have been the case. It should have been oh, you don't have Reppo balance, but you might have an ETH balance. And because what literally just happened live on the broadcast, right, where I was oh, I don't have Reppo balance, so I'm not going to do it right now. And I lost a user because we just didn't have Spicenet live. So.
Really, and the user, it's a bit of a gap And so the reason why you want to make people pay in Reppo is because it's fantastic for the value accrual of the token, right? Like anytime people are using this platform, they're locking up your token, they're burning the token forever in a lot of cases if they're just publishing, right? So I mean it's great because it allows the token to accrue value from usage of the platform, which has proven to be very successful for you guys. The token has done great since you've launched. So I find this like super interesting because I think especially like if you look in the virtuals ecosystem, a lot of other projects are doing this as well, right? They want to create demand for this token because that's like their funding mechanism. It's tied directly to the success of the agent. I love that actually, because it's like everything that you do is tied to this token, which makes me want to buy your token because I'm like, okay, this platform is sick. And I know that if people use this platform, and I'm betting that they will, this token's going to accrue value. So I want to be a holder of it. Right. But
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's exactly, and I think like we just published repostats.com last week. And, this is all on-chain data, all verifiable. So yeah, like this is the kind of metrics we're seeing, right? Even in like the current state of the market, we are seeing like, like really good usage from my perspective. You can see like, voter volume similar to what you see, prediction market volume on Polymarket. And so like, just like stuff like that, right? Revenue is coming in. And the next thing we believe that, once the Spicenet integration goes live, these numbers go brr. So
yeah, totally. Because yeah, the point I was going to make is that they're like, even though I want to be a holder of Reppo, the end user doesn't necessarily want to be an investor just because they want to be a user, right?
Exactly. Yep.
So they don't want to have to like load their wallet with like hundreds of dollars of Reppo each time, but they also don't want to go to Uniswap every single time they want to publish. So
Right.
that's like the really cool thing about what we can do with Spicenet is just make it so like that Reppo purchase happens on the fly and they never have to leave your application to do it. And
Exactly.
as I'm saying this, I'm thinking it's probably the best time to just present and show you guys what I'm talking about here.
Let's do it. Let me stop sharing my screen. Yeah.
Okay, here we are. Add to stage. Can you see the Reppo app?
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, it looks the exact same as on your end. Go to the Explore tab. And now here's where you'll start to notice things are a little bit different. So like I said, we don't have the database connected, so can't show the subnets on here, unfortunately. But yeah, here's where things are a little different, right? You have an account at the top. You have a balance. This balance, you'll notice, is mostly in USDC in my account, right? So, and that USDC, you'll also notice it doesn't even specify a chain for USDC. It doesn't even specify a chain on the app anymore. And that's because it really doesn't matter. Like when the person comes to deposit, Citri is a different chain, but it can be like we support 9 chains right now. I have most of my funds on Base at the moment in this wallet because I was testing this app. But so I'll deposit from Base, but it could literally be any chain you want. So I'll deposit $1 here. And now the user comes and they just show up and like this feels more like a more normalized app for what the user is coming from. Like maybe they saw you guys on Twitter, maybe they saw you guys wherever else you're marketing right now. Maybe their agent found you guys, right? Because agent SEO is a new thing I've been hearing about this week, right? But they just hear about the use case and then they show up to your app and like they're not having to be convinced about this asset called Reppo because they can show up to the app and they can just deposit their USDC or any other asset, like you said. So you'll see now I have $3 in the account. And let's say I go and I'm about to try to vote on the content that I'm seeing in one of these subnets. Like you said, I'm more of a DeFi expert. So maybe I find a subnet where my knowledge is very useful. Then I would be prompted to lock up Reppo, right? But again, it's like, I don't know where to buy Reppo. I don't really know what Reppo is, right? I just want the voting power. So then I would come here and I would just say like, okay, how much voting power / Reppo am I willing to buy? How long am I willing to lock that up? If it's just voting power I care about, probably going to lock it up for much longer, right? And then the user is going to see here how much repo they're going to get. This is being calculated from the live price from the Uniswap pool. And we will just add as many pools as we want, and it'll pick like the best execution throughout all the pools. And they can pick how long they're going to lock it. Now they're going to see how much voting power they're going to get. They're going to see when that is going to unlock. I'll actually do a little lockup here. Why not? I just sign a transaction. I don't need to have gas on Base or anything like that. So even though this is happening on Base, like these assets that are in my wallet up here could be on any blockchain. And when I make that transaction, our solver on Base is going to be the one that figures that out for you. So yeah, you didn't have to be on Base to start with, and then you'll end up with a locked position. On the publishing side, same thing. You go publish. We added this little Spicenet X Reppo.
Oh, dope.
Yeah, this is while we were testing. But yeah, I can link like a Twitter link as well. You know, like I said, I'm a finance bro, so here we go. I'll link that. And then when it comes time to actually pay that fee, same thing, right? I'm not going to get this notification, even though I don't actually have enough repo in my account, right? I don't have 150 repo as is in my account right now. Yeah. But I can just say I'm going to pay with my USDC because it knows I do have USDC.
Yeah, I think you just have to confirm this. I confirm that, like the little checkbox.
Yeah, and then exactly. You click confirm and then you publish. I think you got to type a description, then you publish. I'll show you guys because I've already done a publish before. That on chain, like what happens is you get this NFT minted, right? This is your pod.
Yeah.
So this transaction hash, if I go to it, you'll see the whole process of what actually happens when I click publish. So our solver has liquidity on Base. It will sponsor us with USDC. So this means that I could have had whatever, like ETH on Ethereum, and I just give that to Spicenet, and then Spicenet says, okay, you've given me money on whatever chain you gave it to me on. We'll give you USDC on Base. Batched with that is a swap from USDC to Reppo, which you can see happening here. And then that Reppo fee gets paid and goes to the pod manager. The pod manager mints my pod, and that's it.
Super cool. And I think the one thing I also want to highlight is now that this is done, in the meantime, we launched an AI agent 2 weeks ago. And what this AI agent does is it actually does the claims and, like all of that stuff for you. So TLDR is you just publish this, you use Spicenet, like even that wasn't friction. And now you can just sit back and relax. And with V2 launching in about 3 weeks, the money will just come. If basically it's kind of like if you want a lottery ticket, like it's not a lottery ticket, you're actually doing real work. Yeah. But if you want something, if you want emissions, they'll just land in your account.
Amazing.
Like simple, right? Like you'll just be like, oh yeah, like 2 days ago I published something, and now I'm like I paid like $2.52.
Yeah.
I made like $12, and I think that's the main thing, we want to hit home. That's the reason people are coming to Reppo. Everyone's like, okay, why would you come to Reppo? Why would I spend my money? It is a prediction market. You're predicting on the quality of the content, which is going into AI training data.
And then they're going to receive that in Reppo tokens, right?
Exactly. And then that's actually the, something, you and I were briefly connecting on is right now, yes, they will receive that in Reppo. And, with the Spicenet integration, because like the integration is like end to end, right? If they want to swap their Reppo into like another token, or we don't have the functionality where they can receive it in, like they will always receive the emissions in the Reppo token. Of course, that's.
But honestly, I kind of like that because then they're more likely to just put that into a lock position or put that into any of the make another publishment, right? And like, okay, now I have all this other Reppo. Like, what can I spend Reppo on? I can publish 10 more things. Or at the very least, like they can easily sell that Reppo, right? Like from their account, if they click withdraw, they can just decide what asset they want to receive on what chain, right? Exactly. And if they say like, I want to receive USDC on Arbitrum and like I want to withdraw this Reppo that I have in my account, then for them it's going to get swapped to USDC and sent to them on Arbitrum. But I think a beautiful thing here for the actual repo token is that before they do that, they're probably going to go, oh, what is this repo token, right? Because now this is all of a sudden the first time that they've interacted with the app where they actually care about what the repo token is, because they've earned all this money in repo, and now they want to find out, like, okay, is this repo more valuable than the USDC that I would swap it to, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think 2 points there. One, I think we don't want to build the system like Amazon where we make like taking money out like a pain. And so if and we believe that it's users are it's all non-custodial and users
Yeah.
full ownership. So if you want to swap repo out and if you just want to take profits, like always take profits and just like if you want to go that. But yeah, we're also introducing cool mechanisms like staking into subnets, right? So you will actually have ability to earn APY. And so literally we will make it as easy for someone to offboard, but as much as we want to make it as easy for someone to like earn yield on their flow.
And like this makes it very easy to offboard, but I guess the point I'm making is if I come in with USDC and then I receive a bunch of repo, I'm at least going to go check the chart. And right now I bought repo the other day because the chart looks fantastic, right? So I'm like, I come to this chart and I'm like, oh, like I just received repo. Let me go see what this is. I'm like, okay, like it's on like a good discount from the highs that it was at like just a month ago. And now there's a bullish market structure formed. Like, I mean, I literally bought repo the other day because the chart looks awesome. And obviously I love the product. And like, I'm not even joking about that. I will prove it if I have to. I bought repo because of the chart, right? But if I was a user and I didn't know about repo, I would come in, and then when I get the repo, I would go look, and I might just decide to hold it because I'm like, oh, okay, sick. I earned this thing. Like I have it in my account now. I can use it for publishing, which previously earned me money. And oh, look, like this actually looks like a good token to hold as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what we want to kind of do, and the best part that I love personally with the Spicenet, right? Don't have to worry about gas fees. Don't have to worry about like which chain. I just think people like discount how much of a friction that is. It is, even as a founder, sometimes I'm like, I don't have base ETH, so I'm going to do this later. I think it's like a thing, yeah.
Totally. I do it all the time as a founder because like we're busy, right? We're used to, we're building our stuff out. We don't have time to be kind of, managing gas fees and doing all this stuff, right? And for the end user, and I think like, especially where we're headed in the next couple of years in DeFi, like they won't even know how to do that stuff. It's like when I told my girlfriend about your product, she thinks it sounds like so cool. And she's like, oh yeah, I could see like wanting to post content here and like betting on my content and wanting to see if I can get paid for it. Like that sounds like an awesome thing. But then if she's like, how do I do that? And I'm like, go to Uniswap and connect your wallet and stuff. She's like, oh, like never mind. Right?
And I think that's I think I shared this in the previous kind of like the first one we did. The vision for Reppo is really that like my core motivation is I want Reppo to be like a literal source of income for people in the age of AI, where people would wake up. Eventually we'll have a mobile app. You're waking up. You're looking. Just like instead of doom scrolling on Instagram or TikTok, whatever, you can literally spend like 30 minutes like qualifying content into subnets. We're going to call them data markets in the V2. And literally, you just do that for 30 minutes and you just like, go live your life. And 2 days later, you might have made some money because your preferences were valuable. And I think like that's all the user should think about. The user should not have to ever think about crypto, swapping tokens from X to Z.
It makes it very easy to monetize like your knowledge and your information. And like it's kind of like what business is, right? Is like you find like a niche in which like, okay, I can become more of an expert in this niche than somebody else, and then I'm gonna figure out how to turn that into like a business model and then execute on that. But that takes like years. And I think what AI does is like shorten that time very significantly from like, okay, I have like this set of knowledge or like this idea, and now I want to execute on it and monetize it. And like Reppo's a great example of that, where like if in my free time when I'm working my 9 to 5 in my free time, I, study like this historical period, right? And I'm like, I'm the best in the world at knowing about this historical period. I'm fascinated about it. Like I can actually monetize that quickly, and I don't have to like figure out how I'm going to quit my 9 to 5 job to try to turn that into a business and monetize it.
Exactly. And, I think one thing we briefly also talked about, with V2, each subnet is actually a data business on chain. And that's how we're going to kind of position it. I mean, it's already like that. So Spicenet is kind of like going to be end to end, right? Like right from like this even like, so right now we talked about the flow of like someone publishing and voting, which is critical. But in V2, we're making everything self-serve. So if Matt tomorrow is like, hey, I think, I can I have a decent amount, I have a good idea, and I can actually crowdsource some data. All you need to do is come, pay a fees to the network to start a subnet and start to, incentivize publishers and voters play this game. And I think and Spicenet, I think Spicenet is going to be such a critical piece there as well, because we already have like maybe like, I don't know, like maybe 40, 50 people who are like waiting to like start subnets. And we just told them to like wait for V2. And not all, some of them, none of them like, well, some of them are crypto natives, but a lot of them are not, they're just like, okay, how much do I pay in USDC? And, they just want a USD number, like not even USDC. Like they're like, just how much do I need to pay? And like started.
Yeah.
And I think that, for us, we're just, like literally so excited because the timing of this is so well that we can just tell them like, oh yeah, I think like people like in crypto miss this point. If someone's willing to pay, take their money, like you should not be a customer because take their money. And I think it's just the weirdest thing in crypto where we're like, like you're like, oh, I have Canadian dollars, I want to pay for this coffee. And you're like, oh, sorry, I can't take that money. Like that's not be a thing, so
yeah, it's like if you went to Amazon to shop and they're like, like you need to buy some of our stock first and then use our stock to pay for your groceries on Amazon, right? It's like, okay, well, I'm trying to give you money, so
so no, super excited. And I think that one thing we're going to do is, on Reppo stats, and we're gonna kind of show the flow of funds as well. I think that'll be really cool, of like how much people are swapping. And through like Spicenet, I think there's going to be and I think like all these agents we're building as well, I think we'll integrate Spicenet into that. I just think that the integration is going to go so much deeper from here. So
yeah. No, I'm super excited to continue to dive deeper down that rabbit hole. Like I've been looking at like ACP a lot and kind of studying that to figure out how we can make our stuff like by default just a better route for AI agents to go through. Because like really like SpiceFlow is a UX solution, but AI agents don't give a shit about the UX really. They're just like, give me the best path to do this, I'm going to do it, right? So that's sort of something I've been thinking about to try to future-proof SpiceFlow is like, how can we make the product something that agents care about as well, and not just humans who have like a really hard time using DeFi. So
I do think agents still care about UX, right? Because I think right now what's happening is you have X402, which is kind of like the payment rails. You have something like Hita Network, which is doing like really cool stuff on the settlement layer. But I think what's actually missing is sort of like what's the way to put it? It's like the signage. If you think about it, you're going from point A to point B. So someone has built a road, someone's built the end destination, but like the signage is kind of missing, like where to go, right? I think that's what Spicenet is. It's like, because without the sign, like the road, from my perspective, you can still like navigate your way, but without the proper signage and directions, like the rails or like the road is like pretty useless, right?
Yeah.
That's how I see it, and from my perspective, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's super interesting. I'm definitely gonna pick your brain on that more, because somebody else said this to me, also like in the virtuals ecosystem, basically saying like, if we can create a skill that just very easily explains like, this is the easiest way for an agent to do what it's trying to do, even if it has like another way where it's like, okay, it can go to Uniswap itself and purchase the repo and then bring it to Reppo, right? Like that, it is capable of doing that. But if you just publish a skill and make it extremely easy and accessible for the agent, like they still in a lot of ways might opt into our solution anyways, because they just like, yeah, it's like you've created this sign that just says like, you know, sign here and you're good, right? You don't have to do all this other stuff.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, when we were looking at you guys' architecture and like what you guys have built, I think the most beautiful thing is like tomorrow, if you were like, yeah, we're going to build a product, like, which is an agent to agent brokerage, DeFi brokerage. I don't think you need to like, spend months. Like, it's just like a flip
Yeah.
switch. And I think like that's like a easy, like not like, not just from a narrative perspective, but also like a real solution, right? Because right now that's what's happening is, I mean, Virtuals actually made a little bullish, like a teaser video where they said that, agents need universal standards because everyone's building agents with like certain framework and certain chains.
Yeah.
But, and that's like Spicenet, it like fits right in. Like if my agent is in Solana, doing my pump.fun, and then another agent is on base doing like, ACP stuff, and these two agents want to work together, like they shouldn't have to like, like, I don't know, like how it's actually a real pain point, like that no one has solved. And I think Spicenet is like the best position from an technical architecture perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good to say. Yeah, I mean, like, I always kind of felt that way. There's like, it was actually one of the things that we had a hard time doing is figuring out which product to build first. Because we're like, okay, we have this architecture and like, this is a pain point for everything DeFi, basically. Like, okay, who needs this most right now and how are we going to package it? And we settled on, Spice Flow and Spice Edge, which was like retail access and institutional access. But agentic access is a whole other thing. And like, I also think that our architecture is built to do that. You literally just have to decide how to turn it into a product. So
yeah, the way I see it is also like, once you guys put this out, right? Once you have the main net, that you just like put out the SDK and the community is so bullish, like someone will come build it as well. I think what I see, is like when the product is really good and the documentation is really, well laid out. We're seeing a little bit of that with Kite AI. Those guys have a decent, like they've done a good job at that. And people have just been actually using the SDK to actually ship and build. So yeah, I'm super excited to kind of like, put out, and I know we briefly talked about it in SF, but when down the line in Q3, Q4, would love to kind of like also host like a Spicenet or Reppo hackathon of some sorts, and
yeah, it'd be sick. I mean, you guys have such a solid community, dude. Like for all the Reppo supporters in here, I see you guys on Twitter all the time. Like it's really awesome. Your community makes me feel like communities in crypto in like the early 2020s when things were really exciting, like last cycle, where you would go on X, or like you would go into a Discord or a Telegram, and you would see all these people genuinely excited about a product and like seeing how they could help push it forward. Yeah. And that has been missing so severely from this cycle in crypto. It's like been all about, institutions coming in and doing whatever the hell they want while all of the altcoin communities get wrecked. And yeah, like you guys have done a really good job of kind of bringing that back, and I see that excitement from the people that are talking about you. So it's
yeah, I think it's, I mean, yes, we did some good stuff, but it's all about profit, right? If you give someone a 700% return on their investment, then I think they will stick around,
that is what it is, 100%. Like, but that's why like doing what you guys have done and focusing on, the value accrual of the token, even though it creates harder UX problems and like onboarding issues, it's like the right way to do it, because then you allow people like us to come along and help fix the UX side of things. But at the end of the day, like your investors, the people that are holding your token, are truly being made whole for supporting your project. So yeah, kudos for that.
Awesome. Yeah, so I think, the kind of next steps, do you want to give like next steps to the community?
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't even realize we're at like 47-minute mark here. Usually we end it sooner than this, but I was just getting so excited. But yeah, for us, like we're just getting to that mainnet launch. Reppo is going to be one of those first apps that you guys will be here to test. We'll definitely think of a fun gamified way to get you guys involved and get you onto that Reppo app and make a real fun campaign out of it. I know you guys have been liking the testnet campaigns that we've done, so now we'll definitely look to do something awesome in mainnet. And other than that, yeah, I'll just tell you guys to stay tuned and give Reppo a follow. But yeah, RG, why don't you let them know what they should watch out for on your end too?
Yeah, I mean, if you are joining these stream yards and you're involved, if you're from the Spicenet community, we will make sure that we kind of pre-mainnet incentivize everyone, support. So I've like hinted that to Matt. The way we work in Reppo is we just like we use like a retroactive kind of mechanism. It's called Retro PGF. I learned about it at Filecoin and Protocol Labs. They were kind of the pioneers of this. So yeah, the TLDR is if you're showing up, if you're contributing, if you're helping us test the product, integrations, we will make sure that you're retroactively rewarded. So that's like a more explicit thing I wanted to mention. And other than that, yeah, I think there's just like there's just so much excitement. I'm always of the belief that founders should not try to like time the market. I mean, when Reppo launched on November 21st, Bitcoin was, I think, like literally in free fall, and I was like literally. But I think like we worked out fine. So I would say, I don't know, like again, there's like many kind of factors to take into account. But I'm just so pumped and excited about the Spicenet mainnet. So yeah.
So yeah, just for fun here, because I like the point you're making as well. You guys launched November 21st. Sound correct?
Correct. Yes.
So price of Bitcoin, November 21st. Let's go to TradingView.
Yeah, if you just look at the chart, it was like literally in free fall. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, I like since then it's down, down only pretty much, but I'm trying to figure out what the figure is. Maybe it doesn't matter that much, but either way, Bitcoin's been in free fall for like the entire time when you guys launched and since the day that you launched, and Reppo is up like over 10x. So, it goes to show like if you just give something that provides value and you actually allow that to create value for the token holders, like it doesn't matter what's happening in the market, people will use your product and then the token will accrue value from it. So yeah, that's I think that's why you have like this, like the tight knit altcoin type feeling community, is because like this is what it used to be about, right? People used to come in and get rewarded for being part of the community by being a part of something that was actually succeeding, and like you guys have been able to create that even in terrible market conditions, and that's what it is.
Yeah, and I think I have a very strong belief that Spicenet is gonna exceed expectations and gonna do the same. So yeah, super excited to see Spicenet is gonna do. Yeah, so
appreciate that. Yeah, we'll see if we can prove you right here.
Awesome.
Anyways, thank you so much for coming again, RJ. It's been a pleasure, and I'm going to be in your Telegram DMs figuring out how I can help agents have an easier time. But yeah, until next time, our community will see you soon, I'm sure, and we'll tell everyone for now to stay spicy.
Awesome. One last so just to for anyone here for anyone asking like when live, we're just we're going to time it with the Spicenet mainnet, right? Because we don't want to release something that's kind of unfinished. So the Spicenet integration will go live on Reppo alongside V2. So yeah, that's kind of like the timeline, just for anyone who was still wondering, like, okay, when does this go live? Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll make sure you guys know. Don't worry about it.
Awesome.
Okay, take care, guys. Stay spicy.